Back in 2016, 2K finally published the long-awaited Mafia 3, the follow-up to the, should I say, open world wonder that was Mafia 2. Last month, I replayed Mafia 2, one of my favourite games of all time, and when it was over, I realised something. I'd never actually finished the third installment in the franchise. Why had I never played through it? Why didn't I have the same great memories with it that I did with Mafia 2? Well, since I knew that the game came to terrible reception back in 2016, I thought it would be a good idea to have a look at it from a 2020 perspective, playing it through fully for the first time and giving my opinions on it. So before we get into the video, it'd really help me out if you could hit like, and if you're new here, hit subscribe, and let's see if Mafia 3 was really that bad. The biggest issue for me with Mafia 3 stems directly from a major change when it comes to the development of the game. Because for whatever reason, 2K decided to take this franchise away from 2K Czech, who had made both Mafia 1 and Mafia 2, and give it to their newly formed studio, Hangar 13. At the time, 2K Czech had not only already developed two successful Mafia games, but also were already years into the production of the third. But as Hangar 13 came in, the game was rebuilt from the ground up. And with this fact in mind, the game's content took a major hit. I'm gonna put it simply. Mafia 3 has possibly the worst game design of any AAA game in the last 10 years. I know that's a strong statement, but that doesn't make it any less true. I don't know whether it's down to a shortened development cycle, lack of resources, or just bad leadership, but for whatever reason, Mafia 3 is filled to the brim with filler, repetitive side content. The entire gameplay loop consists of the same thing. Lincoln Clay, our Vietnam veteran protagonist, will go to a district, talk to two informants, take out two rackets by way of interrogation, uninspired assassination, or destruction of goods. Then, he'll take out the leader of the two rackets before killing the leader of the district in a slightly less formulaic mission. After every 3 districts Lincoln takes down, we get one legitimately brilliant unique set-piece mission, taking out one of Sal Marcano's capos. To put it simply, this cycle ended up being one of the worst single-player gaming experiences I've ever had. Sure, it's not completely terrible. There is 1 or 2 great districts, such as taking out this game's version of the KKK or rescuing prostitutes from captivity. And the way you need to allocate each district to an underboss, despite being a bare-bones system, had potential. But the way the game turns into a complete grind, essentially from the end of the prologue to the final chapter, makes it a genuine challenge to complete. Not in a good challenging way, but more so like a tedious, repetitive piece of manual labour. It was honestly difficult for me to get through this gameplay loop and finish the game. Which is a real shame, because the story behind this game had potential to be amazing. We see the story of Lincoln Clay, a man coming back from war abroad, to a war within his own city. A revenge story, the likes of which we've seen before, but with some added nuance, mainly due to the incredible cutscenes and performances of the game's largely unknown cast. Told through a documentary style, our grounding voice of reason within this crime-torn city is Father James, Lincoln's mentor and only link to the family he loses to Sal Marcano. Lincoln's other mentor figure is the near polar opposite of the compassionate father, a morally corrupt yet actually virtuous CIA agent, and Lincoln's former war buddy Donovan. Throughout the game, we see both Donovan and Father James pull Lincoln in separate directions, and some of the best moments in the entire game come with Father James' somber and quiet reflections on the past in said documentary cutscenes.
Lincoln was right. He was always right. There ain't never gonna be another Dr. King or a Bobby Kennedy, but there always gonna be another Sal Marcano, another Sammy Robinson, another Lincoln Clay.
This documentary style also allows for more context for the period and the characters, which is a storytelling device that some might call lazy, but in my opinion works well, giving just enough information as to not feel overbearing, but still allowing for these little bits of background. Although the main characters of this game, Lincoln, James, Donovan, and our main antagonist Sal Marcano, are written beautifully, the story does falter somewhat with the side characters. While Sal's family are attempted to be given motivations and traits, they often aren't given enough real time to be fleshed out, and this goes even more so for the underbosses. The underboss system in this game isn't completely terrible, but the majority of the time, it doesn't provide much more than an easy way to upgrade Lincoln. Both Cassandra and Burke are given backstory in the prologue, but after you finish recruiting them, they become little more than background characters. And the crime of this game turning Vito Scaletta into a near forgettable nothing character after his time in Mafia 2 is unforgivable. These major character issues are somewhat made up for with the writing of our main antagonist though, Sal Marcano. Throughout the game, we're given snippets of Marcano's character and his plans through recordings from bugs in his office. Early on, we see that despite his remorseless killings, his willingness to commit heinous crimes to take control, we see that he does have some kind of moral code. He somewhat does care for the city and people of New Bordeaux, Mafia 3's fictional New Orleans setting, as he doesn't allow heroin on its streets and actually spends the majority of the game trying to end the need for criminal activity by building a casino. Sal Marcano in many ways acts as a perfect mirror for Lincoln Clay. Ruthless, willing to do anything for his family, but also with a set of morals. Lincoln, for example, refuses to hurt women or children, despite his savage beatdowns of just about every dude in the city. And that's why, in my opinion, the final confrontation between the two is by far the best moment in the entire game. A beautiful cutscene, both in writing, performance, and the technically marvelous mocapping, lit by the radiating hues of the rising sun. These two behemoths of New Bordeaux finally meet again, and we see as they share a drink that the two aren't so different.
Hell of a sight, ain't it? When I first come to this town, it was nothing more than a backwater shithole. Now look at it.
Let me see your hands.
Whatever was between us is over, you understand? It ended the second it was you coming up them stairs instead of my son. You want a drink?
All right.
Hey, not bad.
I think I still prefer Shine.
You know, a month or so after my brother Lucho died, I started having nightmares. I had this one where I was on a boat. Giant wave come, knock my ass overboard. I hit that water and sink like a goddamn rock.
I have one where I'm back in Nam, sleeping in a foxhole. All of a sudden, these dark figures come out of the shadows. I try to fight them off, but they hold me down, tie my hands together, stuff a muddy rag in my mouth so I can't scream, can't warn the men sleeping next to me. And then I gotta listen as all those men die.
I would imagine that's not gonna go away anytime soon.
No. I imagine it won't.
My son is dead, and I'm having a drink with his killer. I'm not gonna apologize for what I did, you understand? If I did, I'd just be lying. I don't have it in me to feel shame for the things I've done to others. Never have.
Didn't come here for an apology.
Nah. I know you didn't. Goddamn, I was right about you, wasn't I? I knew it the second I fucking saw you at the country club. Men like us, we're just wired up wrong. There's only one thing we know. One thing we're good at.
This scene, despite encapsulating everything that's actually great about this game, also highlights some major issues with it. The fact that this scene, along with every other fantastic scene in the story, is trapped beneath repetitively awful gameplay that ruins all potential for the story carrying the game to be regarded as great. From Lincoln Clay burning a KKK leader on a cross, throwing Tony DeRazio out a window, fighting his way through a burning boat on the bayou, hanging Richie Doucette on a Ferris wheel, Hangar 13 created some brilliant story moments and some brilliant gameplay set pieces. And instead of building on these throughout the whole game, they instead dragged the story out and hid these great moments behind a wall of mediocrity, forcing players to go through 30 hours of pain to reach but a few minutes of glory. Oh, 30 hours of pain for a few minutes of glory? That could be taken the wrong way. So, that's the biggest issue with the game, along with the best moment. But what about the rest of the game? Well, if I had to give this game its second biggest praise, as everyone knows, it would be the soundtrack. Potentially the best licensed soundtrack of any game, with the radio jam-packed with 60s classics, along with those same classics hitting its story points perfectly. That being said, Mafia 3 still has a lot of issues with it. Without even getting started on the fact that this game came out legitimately unfinished, because you know, this is meant to be from a 2020 perspective, the game is still kind of broken. From the horrible draw distance, to the constant popping that often at time caused my car to be destroyed, to the game just randomly freezing at sometimes minutes at a time, this game has a lot of technical issues, and really should have had more time in development. Hangar 13 were also very ambitious with the graphics of the game, and to be honest, the game is absolutely stunning. That is when there's a cutscene. The issue is, during minute-to-minute gameplay, the attempted art style that works so perfectly in cutscenes can often become broken, from the lighting engine creating shadows and reflections in all the wrong places, to the entire game feeling like it's coated in a layer of plastic, all underlined with the textures of most assets looking straight out of 2010. It's pretty well known at this point that Mafia 3 came out unfinished and broken. The issue is that they never gave it that 1 terabyte patch like Unity got. You know, the 1 terabyte patch for Assassin's Creed Unity that cured my mum's cancer? Yeah, Mafia 3 never got that, and that's the issue here. It's still broken 4 years later. The fighting mechanics as well were somehow downgraded from the game's predecessor, but the gunplay was legitimately a quality upgrade, and the driving mechanics of Mafia 3 are probably my favourite in any game to this point, being both fun and engaging. And despite bushes being made of bricks, drifting around the streets of New Bordeaux almost makes up for the game not having any fast travel system. One of the most frustrating downgrades between Mafia 2 and Mafia 3 though, was the complete lack of immersion in Mafia 3, something that made Mafia 2 so brilliant. If you've seen my mini retrospective of Mafia 2, you'd know that my biggest praise to the game was that immersion. The realistic AI of the NPCs, the police, the interactive world, and whilst some is still there, it seems Hangar 13 lost a lot of what 2K Czech did to ground Empire Bay and Vito Scaletta so well years earlier. And finally, I'm gonna end the pros and cons of this game with, well, racism. Now, a lot of people have gone over this in the past, so I'm gonna try and be brief here. The depiction of racism here is astounding, with so many moments shocking me beyond belief. From the segregated diners to the varying police responses depending on the neighbourhood. It's incorporated into the story well, and I both respect Hangar 13's willingness to include it so heavily, appreciate their historical accuracy, think it's a perfect side motive for Lincoln Clay, but I also want to punch every single NPC in the game for being such repulsive human beings. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I did take a lot of pride when I, threw like 4 grenades into a massive KKK rally. That was probably the best use of grenades I've ever used in a game.
The white folks.
To put it simply, Mafia 3 is a turbulent ride throughout. It's by no means terrible, but it has so many issues, from the myriad of bugs, the rough ports, the abysmal game design, and the boring world, that it can never be considered great. Which is a true shame. The story of Lincoln Clay is a quality one, not one of the best in the medium, but one with great moments and bucket loads of potential. But at the end of the day, due to studio interference, due to whatever happened at Hangar 13, due to the loss of 2K Czech, Mafia 3 will always end up just being that. Wasted potential. By no means bad, by no means good. Average, and to say the least, disappointing. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, it would really help me out if you could hit like, and if you're new here and want to see more content like this, make sure to hit subscribe. Also, feel free to comment, because I do read every single comment. Tell me what you think of Mafia 3, or just give me some feedback on the video, because all feedback is truly appreciated, especially if I can use it to improve these videos. With that being said, I've been Joe, aka Found Scarab, and I will see you in the next one.